Welcome to the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, where business owners, thought leaders, and community champions from across Central Illinois come to share their story. The Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Anything less would be uncivilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? I'm Derek Hayton. I'm here with Garrett Ulmer. We are your hosts for the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, powered by Zambu. Zambu is a delicious grapefruit oral wildberry vodka-based spirit infused with Brazilian buzz button. It's smooth, tasty, and leaves you with a signature tingle. Learn more at zambuliquors.com. Zambu, taste the tingle. All right, Central Illinois, today's guest is a realtor, an owner and managing broker of the Meyers Agency in Effingham, Illinois. Ladies and gents of Central Illinois, please welcome Brian Meyers. How are you doing, Brian?
Pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing great. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. Glad to.
Yeah. Well, we've been following you a little bit on social media. So like Garrett mentioned before the show started, one of our past multiple time guests, Lisa Wilson, recommended you to us, said you're doing some unique things in your marketplace. And we want to learn a little bit more about that. But before we do, Brian, we usually have our speed round questions, but Garrett and I feel like people have started to listen to the show and are catching on, and they're preparing too much for those speed round questions.
We've handed out too many $1 million bills.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna mix it up a little bit. We're going to do a little true or false about Brian. So I'm going to say a statement to Garrett about Brian, and Garrett has to decide if that statement is true or false. And then Brian, you can tell us if it really was true or false. Sound good?
Love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Perfect. All right, Garrett. First statement. Brian's favorite hockey team is the Chicago Blackhawks.
See, I feel like you're setting me up here for something, so I'm going to say false.
The answer actually is false. So, yes, favorite team's actually St. Louis Blues. Grew up watching St. Louis Blues hockey. My dad got us into it, both me and my brother and my sisters at a young age. Had a very big hatred for the Chicago Blackhawks a long time ago, I would guess, but now that they're not as good, back 2010, 2013, 2015, they won a lot of cups, and there was a lot of rivalry in between Chicago and St. Louis. A lot of hatred for them back then, but now it's just like, it's whatever. They're an Illinois team. St. Louis, Chicago.
Yeah, sure.
So,
nice. I'm 1 for 1.
1 for 1. It's a good start. All right, next statement. Brian entered the real estate industry in 2014 by initially researching rental properties.
That sounds like a true statement to me.
Brian,
that is true. Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. So in 2014, I was working another job basically, and I was like 22 or 23, and I was making pretty good money for that age, I would say. So I was like, I need to start like sticking this money somewhere, or else I'm just going to kind of like blow through it and kind of waste it. Right. So started looking into doing rental properties. And then I kind of found that I liked the process of being able to go see houses and purchase them and maybe help people purchase houses. So then I kind of switched to this industry, I should say. So
okay,
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
That was how I got initially started.
Perfect.
All right.
Final statement. And I honestly don't know if this is true or false, but we're going to find out. Okay. All right, Garrett. Brian once sold a home to a professional baseball player.
Ooh, I know that there's some pro ball players that have come out of the Effingham area. So the answer is true.
That answer is actually false. Although I would love to at some point in time. That sounds awesome. Yeah, you're right. There's been a lot of really good baseball players, actually MLB players, or people that have moved up the ranks to the pro status over the past couple of years. Some of them I am closer friends with, or was closer friends with in the past. I know Chad Green, as well as Nick Gardewine, a couple other players too. They're up there in the pros. But hopefully if they move back to the Effingham area at some point in time, they'll give me a call.
Nice.
There we go. So I know those guys listen to this show on a regular basis. So, you pro ball players, make sure you call Brian.
There you
Let him
go. He's the realtor man in Effingham.
There we go.
Awesome. Well, Brian, we heard a lot about you through those questions, but for our listeners, if you could take us back, we already kind of heard how you got into real estate, but take us back as far as you'd like. Talk to us about, where you went to school, where you're from, bring us up to speed with where you're at today and everything or anything in between you want to share.
Yeah. So, lived in Effingham my entire life, born and raised here, graduated EHS 2010. After high school, I actually went to a technical college. So I went to Southeast Lineman Training Center, which is basically training to work on power lines. Did that after high school. And that's the kind of the job that I was working at whenever I started to kind of look at rental properties. I was working in Indianapolis and in Indiana and that whole, I guess, kind of region. And I always wanted to get into rental properties. And I figured then was a pretty good time to start. So I got hooked up with an agent, started looking at rental properties, and then, they worked for a local brokerage here in town. And just so happens that the company that I was working for in Indiana doing electrical line work, they actually went under. So like I basically got laid off from that job. And then I was like, you know what? I've already seen the process of being able to, what it takes to purchase property, sell property. So I'm going to go ahead and get my real estate license because it's something I've always wanted to do. And started about 2014, early 2015, that's when I started transitioning into kind of the real estate world.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, great. So
I've been basically doing that ever since, if you couldn't tell. So everywhere from, anywhere from 2014, 15, all the way up till now. So
Gotcha.
That's
Nice
great.
work.
So the Meyers Agency, is that your agency or is it a family agency? Tell us a little bit about that.
It is. So it is my agency. And a little bit further background, I did actually go work with a franchise, what I would say a brokerage franchise. That would be like a Century 21, a Remax, Coldwell Bank, or something like that. That's what we call franchise in the real estate world. Something that's nationally noticed. In 2014, 15, I went to go work with one of those franchises locally here in town. A couple years later after that, I switched to an independent brokerage, which is something just called like 123 Realty or ABC Realty, something that's kind of only local and locally known. And then after that, I started to kind of realize, okay, the process of buying, selling real estate can be done a lot easier and can be a lot more simpler, but it's not something that I absolutely know that I can do at the current location that I'm at. So I've always wanted to kind of run a company, own a company to where I could oversee other real estate agents as well too, and hopefully have a part in controlling their success. So that is whenever in 2021, it would be late 2021, I started the Meyers Agency. And that has been my company. I am the sole owner, entrepreneur, ownership of it, I guess, manager. And then I haven't added any agents yet, but I plan to over the next, I would say probably months, if not by the next year or so. So it is just me. I would love to add some family members at some point in time, but we'll just see if that happens later on down the road.
Nice work.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So are you mainly doing residential properties or you do a little commercial, farmland? Tell us a little bit about your
So
repertoire.
what I can do anything basically for sale in the state of Illinois. Illinois is my only area that I can do. I can do some reciprocity with some other states if I were to get their license. Like I know Florida has a reciprocity that's pretty close to Illinois. So all I have to do is go take the test down in Florida and get my Florida license, right? But I usually like to stick with working with residential home buyers and home sellers. Just because there's a lot of knowledge in that area. And I've worked with a lot of first-time home buyers, move-up buyers over the years. And it's just something that can be so complex that people don't know about. Residential real estate, to be able to get the best deal out of a real estate deal, it can be very complex. And there's a lot of different ways that you can tweak contracts and that you can negotiate between buyers and sellers to whether you're buying or selling a property can help you get the best deal. So my pinpoint is really residential real estate. I will do farmland. I've done a lot. I did a lot last year. I have done commercial in the past too, but I really like to stick with the residential because that's kind of my niche, what I know the most about, and then how I can benefit, value to my clients is the best way, just because I'm the most knowledgeable about residential, I would say. So residential is kind of my game. So that's what I like to stick to.
Well, I think that's a good thing that you know your lane and you stay in it. Derek, I think we talk to a lot of business owners, and it seems like the most successful individuals find the niche like you talked about. You stick with it. You get to know it inside, outside better than anybody else, and then you can kind of roll with it. So we talked a little bit before we jumped on and hit the record button about video. Derek and I are a huge proponent for video, including it in things that we do in our daily lives for our insurance business as well as for the podcast. So tell us a little bit about video, what intrigued you to start with it a few years back, and how you are trying to make yourself stand out in the marketplace with video.
Yes, I think just video has so many different possibilities of what you could do with it. And it doesn't matter what business that you're in. I mean, you could be in you just having, a restaurant or having a storefront. So many different ways that you can create content that people are actually going to have like some kind of connection with you by watching your video. I usually got started with video. I got started in early 2020. And then I started shooting a lot of video early in 2020, but then the pandemic kind of hit. And it seemed like I would shoot some video on Monday, and then that for my industry, the information I gave that to you on Monday would be totally different by Tuesday. So it was like create a lot of content, try to put it out as much as possible. And then I started slow with a little bit of content here and there in 2020, and then progressively got to start out and put out more in 2021, 2022, should say. And then in 2023, I'm trying to do kind of like a challenge where I can make 500 videos, have them posted to all social media accounts, and just out there within this calendar year. So that's kind of the goal. So.
500 videos. That's more than one a day.
Yes. That's more than one a day. Yeah. And so, I mean, with video, and I'm glad because in my industry, there's a lot that I can talk about. I mean, I can pick one subject and I can literally come up with 5 different videos on that subject. And I can have those recorded all within an hour. If I can just stick to a script, or if I just go and hit record and then just start talking. A lot of different content you can put out there, but I definitely feel like video is something that's gained a lot of traction over the last couple of years, and something that's going to expand immensely over the next couple. I mean, as you guys probably know.
For sure. Yeah. I do some speaking within the insurance industry, and a lot of it is content marketing and standing out from your competitors. And I talk a lot about doing as many videos as you can. Now, I never say produce 500 a year. That's I'm happy to hear you've got that goal, because there's no doubt that you'll be the person that stands out in your marketplace if you produce that much content. You're answering. There's so many people that have questions about any given topic out there. And if you're the one answering it, they're going to come to you.
Sure.
But when I say that to people, that's the number one thing is I don't know if I can come up with any topics. How do I come up with? I think people think too much of video as being like a TV commercial.
Yeah.
They try to do the commercial of, come on down to XYZ resale shop and we've got the best deals in town and we'll be your bottom dollar. They think like they have to do the commercial every time, when in reality, all you have to do is answer a question that someone has about your product or service that you provide in your business. And you kind of mentioned it. There's so many topics out there. One thing that I would recommend that business owners or anybody that wants to do video, what they do is, I call it content mapping. So come up with different topics in your industry. So for, if you're a realtor, talk about, very broad topics. So residential, commercial, farm. For insurance, we'll use like home insurance, auto insurance, business insurance, and then think of everything that goes into that. So for home insurance, we'll talk about deductibles, liability, coverage A, coverage B, replacement cost, earthquake. There's so many things. You just start going down the line of what topics or what questions people ask you on a daily basis. Another thing you can do is just keep a notepad like this next to your desk. And when you get a question, when someone calls you with any question, write that question down. Because more than likely, if one person has that question, everybody has that question. Yeah. So answer that in video, share that on social media. Someone will be watching that, and you're going to answer their question, and you're going to be the one that they come to.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. And I think you can even survey your clients, kind of like what you mentioned, Derek. I think that, if you're following up with them, survey them. I mean, everybody's got questions, so, and that's the best content that you can make, because most people are scared to ask the question because they're afraid they're going to look stupid. Yeah. When, what were we taught at a young age? There is no stupid question, right? So,
well, the best part about a lot of that too is whenever you get that info from your clients, it's usually authentic. Like you said,
absolutely.
If one person has that question, more than one person is going to be wondering about that. Yeah, one person may have asked about it, but 3 or 4 may be thinking about it. So there's a lot of people, and I'm glad you brought up Lisa Wilson earlier, because I love working with her. She's incredibly great at what she does. But honestly, just over the past couple months, I've had multiple people ask me, where do I even start to buy a home? And you think it'd be pretty obvious, right? you go get a pre-approval. You need to be hooked up with a lender is what I would like to say. If you need one, okay. If you're buying in cash, I totally understand. You don't need a lender at that point in time. But number one is you need to get a pre-approval. Well, how do I get a pre-approval? Okay, well, here's who you need to go talk to. If you've had a loan done in the past, maybe go back to your bank and ask to speak with a loan officer, or just if you're driving down the road and see a lender or a loan officer on a billboard somewhere, call them up and have a conversation with them. And it doesn't even have to be huge, big, long, drawn out questions. It can be just something as simple as that. So honestly, I got 3 questions about that same thing. How do I get a pre-approval, or where do I start when I buy a home? So I made 3 or 5 different videos answering that question and different steps you could take to be able to go out and get pre-qualified or pre-approved. And there's just so many unanswered questions that you think that people may just know about your business. And a lot of times people don't know about your business. And it's kind of your job to get that content out there, get those questions answered. Because if you do, then that's the person that's going to come back to you whenever they need another question answered, or you're going to be the person of choice because you're providing content, providing quality to the public and answering questions that they have. So,
yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what, it's funny you said that. So we had Lisa on back in late 2022, I think. And we did a series of how to, she talked about on the banker side, what information she's going to need to get pre-approved, and going all the way from pre-approval to closing on the home. So that if you are interested, obviously Brian's produced a lot of content. You can find him, or you can listen to Lisa on the CIBL podcast about the banker's perspective of it as well. So Brian, obviously content is a primary, I guess, work deal that you do. You focus on content. What is your favorite social media platform, and what have you found to be the most viewed, I guess you would say, platform?
I think it's different, I guess, what business that you're in. The one that I like the most is Facebook, because it usually is hyper local. It's people that you connect with on a daily basis. Now, but there's a lot of stuff on Facebook, right? I mean, if you look at Facebook 10 years ago, it could be somewhere that you could actually go to for reliable news and everything like that. You just get on there today, and then there's random videos left and right. There's memes. There's a whole bunch of useless information, I would like to say. So there's a lot of competition on Facebook and grabbing people's attention. But I think it's the best place to go for my kind of business anyway, or any kind of local business, to where you can actually go out and put out content for free. I mean, Facebook is free advertising unless you want to pay for it. But I mean, if paying for it too, you gain a lot of traction, the target audience with paying for it too. But it can be a free option. Now, if you're on Instagram, I've shot videos and I've posted them on Instagram, and it would just be something very simple. It was like the other day I went to the humane society that we have in Effingham. I did a pet of the week video, and I was just like to gain interest with people in my community about these local animals that are available for adoption in this animal shelter. And I figured I'd get a couple likes on Instagram just because it was local, and because I don't know why, because it said pet of the week or cat of the week or whatever, it had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of likes from people that I don't even know, like just from all over. So it really just depends. Instagram and Facebook, I'm trying to get more in the Instagram space, just because it's really great just to have, I think, at least 2 platforms, if not 3 or 4, that people can actually go on and absorb your content. Facebook would be my number 1, just because it's kind of a powerhouse. There's a lot you can do, but Instagram would be a close number 2. So I love putting content out, both of those.
Nice. It's so funny that you say that. An individual that we met with earlier this week, what he said, it was pets and food for Instagram.
Yeah.
He was a marketing specialist,
right?
And he said for Instagram, he's like, everybody wants to see pictures of dogs. So when you say that and how you got more, traction out of it than your typical, photo that you put on, it's crazy that there's some truth behind the numbers there. So
yeah. And honestly, I mean, you've probably noticed too, Instagram is definitely changing the way that it was 5 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I know Facebook's probably been the same the past couple of years, but Instagram is starting to be kind of that space too, to where you could be a local business as long as you're getting local followers. You could definitely resonate with them. I mean, like I said, 5 years ago, it would just be picture after picture after picture on Instagram. Now, what is it? Half the time on your feed on Instagram, do a video.
Yep.
So,
it's definitely more Facebook-ish now, I guess you could say.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So
Yeah, it probably depends on the industry you're in too. So this is another tip for you people out there listening and wanting to do more video. So you've got to think of the end goal for your listener or follower or viewer. So Garrett and I, if we did videos nonstop about insurance coverage, no one's going to watch them.
Yeah.
Insurance is boring. No one wants to buy the brand new insurance policy. But in real estate, they get a new house. Everybody wants to get a new house. So you can use the end game to dictate what your content's going to be. So obviously, Brian's selling houses. So he can talk about how to buy a house, how to, finance a house, how to go through the process, because the end game is they get the new house. Garrett and I, and a lot of other industries, there's certain things, if you're selling, you need to be more, I won't say entertaining, but educational, not necessarily on the exact topic that you're trying to sell. So if we talked about deductibles all the time, we're going to get 2 viewers, and it's going to be both of our wives, and no one's going to listen to
My
it.
wife doesn't even watch
Yeah,
it.
exactly. So, honestly, that's kind of the reason we started this podcast, is because we work with business owners. Our target obviously is selling insurance to business owners, whether it be commercial insurance or employee benefits. And we know that if we talk about that all day, people's eyes are going to glaze over. So if we can provide value in other ways, so just like interviewing you today, Brian, we're talking about how to create content, how to stand out in your marketplace.
yeah,
Other business owners listening to this, you can use this to your advantage. Learn how to provide value, not just within your industry or your service. Learn how to provide value in other ways so that you're still top of mind when something
Yep.
pops up, and you're gaining more attention that way. So that's just
Yeah.
another tip or trick, I guess you would
well,
say.
I think you hit on 2 things right there. I think number one, these days, to gather people's attention and to gain their trust, you have to provide them value. And it doesn't matter what business you're in, or what kind of scope of service you can provide, you have to provide them value at some point in time. And then you have to consistently keep providing them value, because today people are just trying, you'll see it on your phone, people spam calling you, doing whatever. People are just trying to sell you.
Yep.
If you are a business that can actually provide value about your services, about your industry, about your products, that's going to go a long way, especially over a long period of time, if you are to stay consistent with that and provide consistent value month after month after month after month. If you do that, provide consistent value over a 6-month period, you'll see tremendous gains. Another 6-month period, tremendous gains. And it just keeps building and building and building. But you have to just keep people interested, keep them updated about your product, your services, the industry that you're in, and kind of hold their hand kind of in a way, whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, whatever else. Once they need to go and learn about a topic, whether they want to buy your service now or need to buy it a month to 6 months, a year down the road, let them know that you are going to be a trusted partner with them and providing them any kind of information about your industry to kind of help them with their next step in their life.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Well, and I think it's what you said, you just got to keep with it. Derek, it's been just over 4 years, I think, since we really both started incorporating video more and more into not only us, but just kind of a co-branded type deal. And when we first started making videos, we made them more insurance-esque. They were probably, I don't want to say weren't very good, but weren't very good. And we're like, man, nobody's looking at these. Nobody's liking these. Then we started to be a little more authentic with it. Still not getting many likes. And then all of a sudden, 3-4 months into it, we're going to Walmart or we're out in public and somebody's like, hey, you're that guy in that video. And I'm like, well, how come he didn't like it? That's what you're thinking. You don't want to say it, but it started to pick up traction more and more for us. And it's like, wow, it is working. So I think sometimes clients or individuals are scared to either hit the like button or do something, but they're watching it, so it will take traction eventually. You just got to stick with it.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you're doing video, your first video is not going to be perfect. Second video, third video, your 10th video is not going to be perfect. You can try to make it as perfect as you want, and you can, but it's almost kind of like you were saying, the more perfect you try to make your video, the less authentic it is. People want to be in business with somebody that's authentic, somebody that can have a conversation with. Because if you're just sitting here like a stick and just reciting something that have no emotion, no value with it, a lot of people aren't going to resonate with that. So it really is just hitting the record button or hitting live button, like you said, and just being authentic with what you're saying and try to explain it as if you're having a conversation with somebody. And like you said as well, though, too, there could be people out there that don't like your post, never like your post, but they watch your videos all the time. You're still having like an interaction with them, basically talking to them. A lot of people, if you're not getting a lot of likes on your video, that doesn't mean people aren't watching it. It just means like they're scrolling, they're going on with their day, but they're still watching you from afar and still probably being a fan from afar too.
Yeah. It's funny because it keeps happening more and more. You'll see people say, "Hey, I heard that podcast where you interviewed Brian. Hey, that was a cool podcast." I'm like, it's good to know at least someone's listening or watching, because you might not see the traction on the likes and views or maybe the views, but the likes and comments and shares, but people see it. And some people don't they like to be more discreet with what people see them watching. So, people are watching it. Just keep doing it. If anybody out there is a Gary V follower, Gary Vaynerchuk, he just talks about just keep producing content. And that he tells people to produce 70 pieces of content a day, which is not going to happen for most people. But I think his idea behind it is just produce as much as you possibly can. Somebody's going to see it. Somebody's going to resonate with it. And you are going to be the person that they come to when they need you. So I think that's the moral of this entire podcast, is just do it. Give it a shot. It's not going to be beautiful, but hey, that's you. That's me. I'm not beautiful.
And it's not like it takes a lot of time. It kind of does for that kind of content creation too. Like you said, I totally resonate with what you guys say though too. People coming up to you in public not knowing who they are. I was walking into a restaurant the other day and I swear this kid was 14. He's like, "Hey, you're the real estate guy." And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, but
that's perfect.
You'll have a lot of silent watchers from afar, and before you know it, you could almost reach kind of like this celebrity status in your local place, in your industry, just because you don't think people are watching your videos. But if you keep consistently putting them out there, you're going to gain more traction over time. A lot more people are going to be watching. You'll have a lot more success down the road too.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. So not to change gears, but I'm going to change gears. The state of the market, let's just say in Effingham County, I know we've had some unique ups and downs and highs and lows, buyers markets, sellers markets. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing currently, especially there in Effingham County, as far as the home market goes.
Yeah. So, it's really stagnant. What I find interesting is all over Central Illinois. I know there's probably other states like this, but like we don't have a market that's like Chicago. We don't have a market like Champaign. We don't have a market like St. Louis. All of our own little towns around here have their own like little housing markets. Shelbyville is different than Mattoon. Mattoon's different than Effingham, stuff like that. In the Effingham market, we'll probably have like 19 to 20 actively listed homes for sale over like a 3 or 4 month period. And that might fluctuate a little bit. But over the past 2 years, there haven't really been a whole lot of houses for sale. We might have a new house come on the market like every week, and then maybe 1 or 2 more being sold that week. So it almost seems like the inventory count as far as houses for sale just keep kind of going down, but it's kind of like at a stagnant rate. I wouldn't really say over the past 2 years, it was a pretty good seller's market. And if you're not familiar with the seller's market basically is where it's more advantageous to be a seller. You're going to get better terms, better price, because you have more buyers in your marketplace looking for a house. More buyers in your marketplace means most likely more people looking at your house equals a higher sales price, better negotiable terms for you. It was a seller's market for a long time. Now it's kind of shifted to more, it's like a neutral market to where it's not advantageous to sell, but it's also not advantageous to buy either. Because I've talked to a lot of people that were able to lock in a 2.5%, 3% interest rate in 2021 or 2020 or whatever it was. And then, why would they want to sell right now? Why do you want to sell and buy another house and pay a 6.5% interest rate or a 7% interest rate? So it's kind of with the high interest rates, it's kind of created, I would say, this neutral market to where it's there could be some very good deals come on. There's a lot of buyers out there. Don't get me wrong. There's still a lot of buyers out there looking to purchase properties, and there will be for a long time, I think. But as far as who's got the advantage right now, it really just kind of depends on your situation, kind of property you have, because some properties will be more desirable than other ones whenever it comes to time to sell.
Sure.
Gotcha.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. It's a weird time. I feel like, you got, there's not a ton of inventory. Interest rates are going back up. It's just a weird time that I feel like everybody's just kind of they're not being aggressive on either side. It doesn't seem like the buyers or sellers. It seems like everybody's just nervous to see what's going to happen.
It's like you're pointing at the other side, just waiting to see who's going to jump first. It's like, what's going to happen? Where's it going to go? Or price is going to adjust. And everybody's just kind of playing the game right now.
Pretty well. And in real estate, and it kind of sucked itself into this hole. And it's kind of like this rotating thing to where sellers, they don't want to sell their house because they're afraid they're not going to find some place to buy.
Sure.
Okay. So then you just have one less house entering the market, and buyers aren't able to purchase or move up to their houses because the sellers can't sell theirs because they're afraid they're not going to have somewhere else to buy. So it's like creating this vicious cycle. And I really think the only way it's going to get out of it is until interest rates finally start to come back down. I think I was talking to a lender the other day, and I think they projected the interest rates to drop to 4.5% to 5% by the end of this year. Okay. That's a long way to go. But I think at least once we start to see the interest rates hit 5%, we'll start to see a lot more houses come for sale, and hopefully a lot more activity in the housing market.
Well, a point to 1.5 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're borrowing a decent amount of money, it sure can make a huge difference as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're talking about buying a $250,000, $300,000 house, even if it's just $100,000, $150,000 house, that could equal a couple hundred, if not $1,000 off your mortgage payment a month. And a lot of people have figured that out. I think probably by talking to a lender, talking to a realtor over time too, like, look, we don't want to waste that money, just an interest payment, just so we can move up. How about we just kind of stay where we're at for now? And then, whether it's save up money or improve our house while we're here, let's do that. Let's wait till interest rates come back down, and then we'll go out house hunting, which that's totally fine. I get it. You just gotta kind of decide at what stage you're at in life and what it's going to be worth it for you, whether you would like to move up now or if you'd like to wait till the interest rates drop. Because a lot of people don't want to put their life on hold. There's a lot of people out there still purchasing whenever interest rates are 6.5% and 7%. A lot of people don't want to wait around, because once the interest rates drop to 4.5%, 5%, or even go down lower, they can just turn around and refinance. Do you like the house enough right now to want to purchase it at the higher interest rate and then wait till the interest rate comes down? Or you just want to say, I'm totally out of the market until the interest rates come down, and then we'll get into it. So a lot of moving parts, a lot of different ways that you can do it. It just kind of depends on how motivated you are to kind of move forward, or if you're good where you're at, which either way is a fine place to be at.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like, I know we got to be getting close to time, right, Derek?
We are there. Yes.
Gotcha. So with that being said, Brian, with the conversation we just had here, if somebody's interested in, reaching out to you to find out, is it a good time for them, kind of get that conversation, what's the best way that they can reach out to you?
Yeah. So you can text me or call me anytime. It's 217-663-5885 is my number. Also, Brian Meyers, the Meyers Agency on Facebook. You can message me there. Also just had a new website come up. It's www.effcohomes.com, FCO Homes. It's a great search engine site if you're looking to get in the market. And if you're in the Effingham area, I'd love to help you out. Even if you're not in the Effingham area, I do serve within a 45-minute radius of Effingham. And if you're outside that radius, but still in the state of Illinois, I'd be happy to hook you up with some kind of real estate professional in your area to help you out with your next purchase or your next sale.
Nice. Awesome. Well, hey, Brian, stick around after we stop recording here. Got something to run by you. So
sounds good.
For all you listeners, make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL podcast on your favorite podcast platform. While you're there, please leave us a review. It'd be greatly appreciated. Make sure you tune in every Monday for our CIBL Biz Tips series, where we bring you tips and strategies to grow your business. You can find Garrett and I on Facebook and the CIBL podcast there as well, and as well on LinkedIn. Until next time, Brian, you've officially been civilized.
All right. Thanks, guys. It was fun.
Yep. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL Podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the civilized thing to do.